Today I want to talk about something that might sound simple, but is actually one of the most powerful tools that you'll have for building relationships at work. And that's telling anecdotes. Those little stories about things that have happened to you. Now, telling stories is something that I focus on a lot in my programs. It's such a useful skill to have. And if you think about your first language, you probably tell little stories or anecdotes quite regularly. But I've had clients in the past that tell me that there's been opportunities where they've wanted to share a story about themselves, but they missed the moment, or they can't think of how to say it properly, or they worry that they're going to make mistakes, and so they don't say anything. Well, if you're avoiding telling these stories that you think of, you're actually missing opportunities to connect and show your real personality to the people you work with. Not only your colleagues, but your clients too. As humans, our brains are hardwired to engage with stories, to listen to stories, to remember stories as well. And also, you let the people you work with see you as a person and not just a job title. Okay, so now I'm going to share 5 specific situations where sharing these anecdotes can really help you to build those connections and also be more memorable. Now, sometimes it can be difficult to know how to start the story. So for each situation, I'm going to share some useful phrases that you can use to introduce your stories naturally. The first situation is when we're breaking the ice. In meetings, and people are making some small talk at the beginning, or maybe you're just in the break room, you're with a colleague, you're both making a cup of coffee, there's a bit of small talk, but you don't really know what to say. So moments where people say, "Oh, did you have a good weekend?" Instead of just saying, "Yes, I did, thank you, did you?" You can share a little bit. "Yes, I did actually. I went to see a football game." They may reply, "Oh, did you?" And then continue to tell the story. This gives the opportunity for the other person to ask you questions and also share similar anecdotes. When we start sharing these stories, it's often when people start to feel more relaxed. It's not that awkward small talk interaction with no meaning. When we share stories, we give people the opportunity to continue the conversation, and you never know what you might learn. Useful phrases you can use to introduce these stories into the conversation might be, "You'll never guess what happened to me this morning." Or imagine you're talking about a specific topic like football. You might say, "Speaking of football, I went to see a match at the weekend," and continue to tell the story. Okay, the second situation is supporting a colleague with a problem. Now let's imagine that you notice that your colleague seems stressed and they share a problem that they have. Now in this situation, we need to show them that we're listening to them and that we care. And it could be a good opportunity to share a story, a very short story about when you had a similar problem and what you did. Now we don't want to make it all about us, it is their problem. But just offering advice in the form of a story can help them to relate and could be really useful for them. I would keep it short though. Some phrases you can use to introduce these kind of anecdotes are, "Yeah, I know how you feel. Something similar happened to me last year. Blah, blah, blah." Or, "If it helps, when something similar happened to me, I da da da." Okay, now the third situation is using stories in a kind of sales way. So it could be pitching to clients or talking to potential clients at a networking event. You could share little anecdotes about previous clients you worked with who had a similar problem to them and share how you helped them. These stories become like mini case studies. You can use them in pitches. It's a really great way of engaging with that client and helping them to imagine them in the same situation and achieving the same success. But even in conversations at networking events, if they talk about a problem or a situation, you might tell a casual anecdote about somebody who you helped. This is a great way of demonstrating your skills to that potential client without saying, I'm great at this, I can do this, we can do that. You're actually painting them the picture so they can imagine. Useful phrases you could use to introduce these kinds of stories are, that reminds me of another client who had a similar challenge, or we had a similar situation last year where we blah blah blah, and tell the story. Okay, now the fourth situation is in presentations. Now this can be workplace presentations to your team. Rather than just listing facts or statistics, we can use stories to engage our team and help them to imagine the situation. If you're just listing lots of data, it can be really boring. People don't really listen and they might think you could have sent me this in an email. Stories can bring it alive and make it more memorable. Useful phrases you could use. Imagine you tell your team this fact. Last quarter, we increased efficiency by 15%. It's a fact, that's it. You might go on to say, let me tell you what that actually looked like in practice. Or, to put this in context, this is what happened when we blah blah blah, and tell the story. The final situation where telling stories can be really powerful is in job interviews. That very first question that so many interviewers ask is, tell me about yourself. Don't just list the items on your CV. Instead, tell the story of your career so far. We can make it more interesting and engaging and show why this job that you're being interviewed for is the next logical step in your career. Nowadays, many job interviews ask competency-based questions. For example, it could be, tell me about a time when you dealt with a difficult customer. Now, rather than just talking about the facts of what you did or just speaking generally how you deal with difficult customers, think of a specific time that you dealt with that customer and tell it like a story. The situation, what the problem was, what you did, and what happened in the end, including what you learned from that situation. These kind of stories in a job interview are so powerful. Not only do they help the interviewer imagine your skills in action, the way you tell the story also gives them an idea of your personality. When it comes to job interviews, really they want to see how you would fit in with their team. Useful phrases to introduce these stories are, that's a great question. That gives you time to think about what you're going to say. Let me tell you about a situation when, and tell the story. Or, I remember a time when, da 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 da, and tell the story. So those are 5 situations where telling anecdotes and stories can have a real impact on how you are perceived at work. But here are my 3 golden rules. Number 1, keep them appropriate. Work anecdotes should be relatable for the people that you're working with, but still keep them professional. Don't share anything too personal. Keep them brief. Nobody wants to listen to you speak for 5 minutes about something that you did at the weekend. Keep them short, concise and brief. A good workplace anecdote is probably around 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on the situation and who you're speaking to. And finally, make it relevant. Share stories related to the conversation, related to the meeting. Otherwise, people wonder why you're redirecting the conversation to talk about something else. So there you have it. And remember, people don't just work with job titles, we work with people. The more human you can be in your professional relationships, the more successful those relationships will be, and strong relationships often lead to great opportunities. So next time someone mentions their weekend or a problem that they're having, don't just nod and carry on. Share your story. Let them see the real you. You'll be amazed how much deeper your workplace relationships become. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you on the next video.